Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to your reading. I'm just doing one quick thing um that I wanted to hit record, so I would start the damn thing. Um, Anyways, thank you for the patience. Been a wild, wild time. Um, Trying my best to catch up on all these, but you know, Eclipse shit isn't the easiest. So I'll just make sure that my hotspot's working good. Okay, that should be fine. Hit that. Okay. So let's open this up over here. Okay. Do, 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 do. Okay. Okay, cool. So, here we are. What the heck? What the heck? There we are. Hide the name. Okay. So now we can stop video, share screen, so we can show the chart. SFL, what a name. All right. Well, we have here a Virgo rising with the moon rising. I don't know. Have I seen that? Yeah, I have. But I think once comes to mind. Like that combination. Um, hmm. But yeah. Big stellium over there. Well, not stellium, I guess. Mercury retrograde natal in Aquarius. Oof, let me guess. Chiron's in Gemini or Virgo. Let's see if I'm correct. Gemini, look at me. I swear on God, like, I swear to God that I did not look. I did not see that beforehand. I swear to God, God, God. I just know. I just can predict these things. Um, Anyways, so wow, you got Aldebaran in your midheaven. That is very cool. Um, Mars. So you have that stellium in Sag, Mars, Saturn, Uranus. Um, and then the North Node is in Pisces, conjunct Venus. That's what I have too, but it's in Aquarius. But I have North Node conjunct Venus, or yeah, conjunct Venus, and it's in the seventh. So we have something in common. Um, Anyways, so basically, first question: how does an Aquarius sun can mix with a Virgo moon? Well, um, hmm, let's just say that you have a sun quincunx, moon, and ascendant. Um, it wouldn't fall in range, the quincunx range. I mean, when it's sun and moon, like to me personally, like I care more about the elements and um than the angle as much. I mean, obviously it does make it way more intense, but it's just you could really break it down to how much different Virgo is. Like Virgo is Mercury, right? So your chart's ruled by um by Mercury, and Mercury is about like the analytical mind, right? And then your Sun is ruled by Uranus. And the interesting thing is that your chart ruler is Mercury in Aquarius. So there's really this dual energy of Mercury, or yeah, Mercury and Uranus playing out. So what I want to say is that Uranus is this genius type of energy that is, you can think of it as like those lightning bolts of intuition. It's about it's about individualization, the process of kind of just being your own person, regardless of, societal standards, anything of that sort. So I see here you have Sun square Pluto too. And then Venus squares Saturn and Uranus. And you have some Chiron stuff going on also. Square Venus. Okay, so lots of Venus squares. And Venus is, yeah, Pisces. Okay. So yeah, they'll basically like the split that can happen there can be between the kind of everyday mind, um and it's more of a neutral type of energy. Virgo, it's very analytical. It's very sometimes, especially Virgo moons can be prone to anxiety disorders. They can be, they can overthink things a lot. And it's because they tend to rationalize their emotions. So the emotions are energies. Emotions are energies, and sometimes Virgos, because it's Mercury, which is about words and communication, all that, tries to you know too much to apply logic to emotions, and they can just like run into like overanalyzing just different circles, right? Of thought, and it doesn't necessarily like resolve. So Uranus is it's like it's really the higher octave of Mercury. And when Mercury is more it's more, yeah, it's less of this, like it's Uranus is it's not trying, like Uranus is the energy that's trying to be different, right? It's really just like um its goal, and being an Aquarius, the goal is to individualize, right? And to really be um your own person. And coming from a South Node Virgo perspective in the first house, there's that karmic tendency to kind of be more in that Virgo camp, right? To be more in that camp of like um the material world, right? And just how, there can be like every day we can always come up with like different anxieties, and different worries and whatever, that can that we can allow to ruin our day, right? So a lot of the thing with you, and let's see here, and yeah, you have Saturn and Uranus squaring your nodes. So that speaks to in past lives, the karma you're dealing with in this lifetime. That makes complete sense why you're an Aquarius, right? Because you're, you know, your Aquarian Uranian energy, right, of being different was held back. You were lied to. You were sold kind of like the idea of like the Matrix and the idea of like the great lie in today's world, right? Um, it's like that it could have been something different. It could have been like manipulation from the church. Who the hell knows, right? Um, uh, like I don't even know if it's on this planet. Like who knows? But basically, Virgo South nodes, they're here to really deepen themselves spiritually. Take their expertise at being able to, like I said, like it's your moon and your node, your South node. So it comes extra natural, the Virgo energy. But when I think of seeing moon and South node together, I think, okay, well, that is a lot of times can show some of like the more lower energies of that energy, like Virgo moon, which can be being super self-critical, overly self-critical, which can then be projected onto other people. And yeah, like it, so the movement towards Pisces is really about this real spiritualization, um developing a deeper relationship with yourself, essentially, right? That's kind of at the essence of all of this, is really diving deep within yourself. And I see with the Pluto in the third house also that there's this need to go out in the world and to go find this information and to go find, because you've been lied to, and there's past life, there's past life self-limiting beliefs, right? um there's that, but then there's also just feeling like your ability to be this individual, this real kind of unique version of yourself was held back. So in this life, being an Aquarius, the sign of liberation, you're here to really be about that. And with North Node and Pisces, you're here to add like that spiritual touch to it. So it's interesting. The fact that Venus is there to me tells me that it's in the seventh house, that there's also this karmic tendency to be a little bit overly independent and not really compromising enough when it comes to your romantic and relationships in general, but really like romantic a lot. And how there's like this quest for balanced human relationships, part relationships in this life, which it takes some compromise. um Pisces is obviously a super romantic energy, right? And it's asking you to find some discernment as well, um because of what the lower energy of Pisces is, right? Like if the lower energy of Virgo is the self-criticism that gets projected, and it's like no partner is ever good enough. Well, that same energy can exist for Pisces, right? Because they can be over idealistic when it comes to love. Like, yeah, it's a great Venus sign, it's super romantic. Um, you're able to really express love uh in a very beautiful, cosmic, like ethereal way, and it makes one super creative. And um there's so much, but like sometimes they can get caught into that web of fantasies, right? So you know Venus would then also square the same planets the node square, so all this is very karmic. So everything in your relationship life is very, very fated, right? So that's a big, big emphasis for you is relationships. And forming, very loving spiritual ones that are still based on reality. There's not that rose-colored glasses energy that's coming out. And if if it does, you're catching it, right? So yeah, a quest for right human relations is what I would sum it up as. And on the other side, getting away from like it's all over your chart. Self-limiting beliefs, introjects as they're called in psychology. And I always tell people grab a piece of paper, write down a list, like meditate on this for weeks, whatever, of the beliefs you hold about yourself and what you're capable of. And meditate on it and just really figure it out, and it's very, very interesting when people do that. But that's all over the chart. And the Virgo moon at its highest, it wants to serve, it wants to, it wants to it truly wants to give back, right? Um, in relationships, it wants to be valued for the small, like, the little things that it does. Um, so hmm, yeah. Um, so to have moon rising is really interesting because it makes your emotions, like, you can learn a lot about yourself through your um like through your actions. Um, hold on 1 second, sorry. So, okay. So yeah, okay. So yeah, you can learn a lot about kind of the there's a real interplay between your actions and between like that core essence, right? That core. And you're very lucky your moon, you have no hard aspects to your moon. Those are always the most difficult. So that is good. Um, double check. Mars is 10 degrees away from a square, but yeah, it's not doing it. Um, but yeah, overall, it's very clear like you're here to get out of your head, and to get into spirit. That's the karmic purpose, to get out of your head, to get with spirit, to so the sixth house year Aquarius sun is about like um you know it's about service to humanity, and it's about just not being just really really snapping out, like because there's most likely karmic fear attributed to being different, to allowing yourself to be different, right? um and when it enters into your love life, right, because the Venus is squaring all these planets, who are 29-degree planets, by the way, the Neptune and the Uranus, or Neptune and or the Uranus and the Saturn. So that in itself is speaking to like this advancement for you in this lifetime, like when it comes to this karma, this like the lessons around um the karmic lessons related to Saturn, and with this kind of individualism and just this true acceptance of just fuck it, like I'm just gonna be me, does not matter. um so I'd imagine that the circumstances wouldn't have been set up that easy for you to get past that. And the Virgo moon, that's the difficulty, is that Aquarius, Virgo is more traditional. Virgo wants to kind of do things in a way that's more like accepted by society. They're more conservative, um, more homey even. Aquarius is just super social. Um, all that humanitarian causes, all that friends. You know, it's just different. It's just different. So it's really one's air, one's earth, right? So yeah, and then you add the fact that Mercury, so all of this Virgo, right? It channels into this Mercury, right? And the Mercury is retrograde in Aquarius. So you saw how I guessed your Chiron placement, right? That was because I was just sure that because you had a Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, you probably grew up um someone super smart, super ahead of your time, super inventive, um, but then not seen for it, not appreciated. Maybe people thinking you're a weirdo when you're growing up, right? Um, Having things that you were curious about, that you were interested in, that were just very taboo and different. So, yeah, like with the Chiron and Gemini, it speaks to like there being pain around, especially when it comes to the public domain, and it could lead to you being someone who is a healer, and that's like your profession, like in some way, shape, or form. And the fact that your midheaven's on Aldebaran could speak to literal potential fame. It's very like it's very close to Aldebaran, um, less than a degree away. So, you will have lots of good fortune in that area of life. Um, but then also there can be career changes, just midheaven and in Gemini in general. A lot of times there could be multiple careers. Um, so mm, mm, mm. Yeah, but overall, like made all like lot like the Chiron. One second, show you that noise. Mika, Mika, come here. Come here. What was that noise? You guys fighting? Mika, come here. Come here, Mika. Good girl. Finally, she listens to me for the first time ever. Come sit on the lap. Okay, stop fighting. Felix, let's not fight. Stay, Mika. Good girl. Okay, so with the Chiron where it is, okay, and then she leaves. You say you don't want fights, Mika, and then you pick them with Felix. What do you expect? Um, so yeah, with the Chiron, Mika. Oh my God, she attacked Esme. Esme dodged it like a Matrix cat. Um, so yeah, so that could just be like pain around you growing up thinking that you weren't as intelligent. Um, and doubting your own thought process, being pushed to doubt your own thought process, right? And then you have Sun square Pluto, which can create kind of like a power struggle with usually it's the father. And it's a difficult one for sure. Um, but overall, Pluto square Sun, it gives lots of strength, lots of motivation. Um, but you have to watch out for ego conflicts and like how you're using power, right? And then also control. It can create control freaks, power struggles. So relationships can be difficult until you kind of use the energy to kind of like dive deep into your shadow, um, which with North Node in the seventh house conjunct Venus, you're here to learn about real like like the deepest energy of Venus, um, Pisces Venus, which is um, unconditional love, right? Now that doesn't mean to have no boundaries. It means just about like you're here to love, like learn about love for yourself, and then unconditional love for yourself, regardless. Like literally, I'm seeing it all over. Like you have, beliefs, right, that come from trauma. They're all very valid. Like, or the beliefs are valid, but the trauma is very valid. So it's about really looking into that, figuring out what it is, and and then just accepting it and learning to love it, learning to love, like, because Virgo moons, there can be so much perfectionism where it has to be 100 or zero. And if it's not 100, then I just give up and just like say, fuck it. And it's like one of the biggest lessons for Virgo moons is like being okay with, maybe on this day, it's 70 is the best I can do. Maybe on this day, 20 is the best I can do. Maybe I have to take 2 days where I do zero, you know, but still getting back on the horse and not giving up, right? That's what's huge. So once love is found for oneself with that, then it's very easy. But the thing is, there's lots of things in the way. So with the Pluto square Sun, that's about the journey into the underworld, the darker side of life, right? Um, Lots of people with that have to live out secret kind of sexual taboos, the really get deep with the occult, really go into their own like darker experiences of life in order to kind of be like, fuck this shit, and then go through some form of like ego death, and then really transform, you know. So, but really, like yeah, just like there's a big need to like kind of like give up on the potential need to control other people in situations, which can come from the relationship with the father. Um, so channeling that the competitive energy that brings into like something that's like a more positive outlet is kind of the way to go there. Um, and then Chiron, like I was saying before, being where it is, there could have been some like kind of public embarrassment. There could be some fear of really putting yourself out there in the public. But yeah, like that fear can exist, but but it's meant to be overcome. It's meant to be overcome so that you can help teach other people how they can, be their best, really, really fully accomplish their dharma and find their very unique to them path, right? So I believe that, you know, when you're going in that right direction, the right things are gonna happen. Um, the right things are gonna happen, and you're gonna meet the right people. You're gonna have all that luck that happens with Aldebaran. Most likely wealth. Yo. Hmm. Okay. So, yeah. Anyways, basically, with the Pluto placement, like I was saying, like there's a huge need, like you need to find this stuff for yourself, right? Um, you need to find this stuff for yourself. You need to kind of go out into the world and truly see it for truly see all the little info, right? Like not just believe things, because in past lives you believe things, right? Of like what was correct and like how one was supposed to live and blah 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 blah, and it ended up kind of fucking you over because it made you live a life that was not in line with your highest human self, right? So you're really really meant to go deep in that way. um and Pluto third house people can be really really good when it comes to like research and just determination to kind of get to the bottom of things, right? um so yeah, that's very important. And aside from that, um just this fixed house it's about your daily routine. And you have vertex conjunct part of fortune. So you know like it's really, and they're all close to your sun, so it's like this is a super super fated and super important lifetime where by the highest vibration of Aquarius you're truly meeting, um which that is like your flow state, right? And in the sixth house, which is the house of Virgo. So Virgo Aquarius, like what is that? So how do we bring those together? What's the highest energy of those two? Well, it's combining like your logic, and using kind of that brain of yours, right? Which it's so interesting because like the Mercury in Aquarius, like I said, they're ahead of their time. They're outside the box thinkers. They're very ingenious. But then in retrograde, it can make them quite shy growing up. Maybe they had like a very different learning style. Maybe they just um Mercury retrograde can feel like there's something wrong with them, but they're just being taught like in a school and institutions where like they that are very like Capricornian, and like just they do better when it's more artistic and abstract. So yeah, definitely a very out of the box thinker. And it's really about, yeah, being able to channel that energy, um, in a way that is, you know, where you can kind of like use to help other people. Now, karmically, Mercury retrograde natal is super interesting because it makes you project past life meanings onto people in your current life. And I've seen this like firsthand. It's fucking trippy, you know? So sometimes you can have reactions to certain people, um, and it doesn't even like make sense, right? It's just like you react like my brother has it, right? And sometimes he'll react, he'll and he's gotten better at it, but sometimes he'll, you know, he will react to me, um, and I can feel that it's like he's speaking to a past life version of me because no, like, yeah, he's my brother. No one else uh speaks to me like that or sees me in that way, right? So it's like it's very trippy. When I read about that, learned about that, I was like, holy fuck, that's so crazy. But really what it does is that you have this very ingenious energy and it gets kind of pushed internally. So it's not always easy. And it can, so yeah, it's just really important to find kind of networks that you can feel comfortable sharing in and stuff of that nature, right? And the highest energy of Aquarius is humanitarianism, right? And meeting kind of like that tribe of like-minded people who are, ultimately going to yeah, really help you kind of get to that next level, right? And your 11th house ruled by Cancer vested in there, so you can work well in groups and like your you know your family can really feel, or you're not your family, your friends can really feel like your family, right? Which is beautiful. Um, so that's really, really nice. Now, back to what I was kind of saying, there is, a part of you, right, that needs to really, well, I wasn't really saying this actually, it's different. But like as a healer, there's a part of you that really has to watch out for, um, that really has to watch out for watch out for energetic attacks and has to protect themselves energetically. Black Moon Lilith in 12th house, big time. Now, it's in Leo, right? So it's like Black Moon Lilith in Leo. We think about Black Moon Lilith as representing the dark side of our personality. It's not a planet, it's just a potential, and it can be transformed into something good, right? But a lot of times, um, like for example, mine is in Scorpio, and when I'm at my lowest, I turn into like the worst version of fucking Scorpio. Um, but I try to make it never happen. So I always think about it as like a vibration, right? Yeah, I think about it like when you're vibrate on your highest vibe type thing. So yeah. Um, so we're at the shrine. Um, I mean, yeah, like you're here. The fourth house is very interesting because you have that stellium there. It's in Sag, so the home environment is, an environment in which you learn a lot. You like to really enhance yourself and kind of like you grow a lot from the home, right? Um, and also from just your internal self. Now, at the same time, having Mars close enough to the IC can have created like an explosive volcanic kind of early home environment, you know. Um, but also in Sagittarius, it's a lighter sign, so it could have just been one where there's just lots of action, right? But then you throw Uranus and Saturn in there, and you're like, all right, well, Saturn fourth house is not the best, in terms like for that person being able to feel like they could express that Aquarian side of themselves in childhood, right? So then it goes to the idea of like Virgo Aquarius, perhaps um the Virgo has been favored, um but we cannot be sure. But having Uranus and Saturn the fourth, like Saturn the fourth, yeah, it's just like restrictive, like people who have that, they talk to, they're like, yeah, like they felt like kind of restricted upon when they're growing up, so yeah, it's a little bit interesting, isn't it? um and a lot of times their parents were like a lot older, um and yeah, like it can be difficult to like kind of like share the emotions, and that goes with the theme of the Virgo moon, right? Difficult to share the emotions, right? Intellectualizing emotion, that and that. um so yeah, some people with this, like they won't like want a family of their own, um and yeah, just there can be like a kind of like cold kind of attitude towards like towards that, um and yeah, just like lacking affection early in life, right? Now with Uranus in the fourth, that kind of can create like a very unpredictable early home environment. Perhaps the parents were divorced and you have to move around a lot, but it could also be very bohemian, but you do have, like I said, Venus is squaring both of them. So let's kind of talk about that. Venus square Saturn is very difficult. You just finish, you finish, not just, but you finish your Saturn return. So people who have that, usually they don't find like their best love until after the return. Um, not that they cannot find it, but yeah. But and Venus square Saturn, it just makes like, happiness and love very difficult. Lots of barriers around that, and around self-esteem. So it's just tough. Um and there can be bad habits associated with that one. Um and just like feeling rejected, and it comes from like the family stuff, but like, just feelings of like rejection and not being, kind of, it's usually like, Saturn the father, right? Not feeling like deserving of love, and it's stuff like that, right? Now, because it's all fourth house, it's all very karmic and very related to your bloodline. So I'm getting the sense that and I say this in so many readings, so interesting, that, with all these planets, that you're the one who's meant to like break some type of energy in your kind of karmic bloodline, because like look at all these four down here, right? Um, and then with the square of Venus, like, perhaps you come from a family where, um, like expressing like love and vulnerability and saying I love you and stuff like that. It's like my family, but where that is not something that's really done. And for the record, we do say I love you, but we're not, like, both sides of my family are not very like, especially my French side, very like touchy feely with that. But anyways, yeah. So just like if there was like a lot of coldness, rejection from the father, it would really this is like a really tough one for self-esteem and self-love, right? Um, Especially if you had like a lot of criticism and abuse, and it can lead, yeah, to depression. Saturn can create depression. Um, periods of that. So not permanent, but yeah. So it's all about finding your true self-worth, right? Which is actually pushing you into this very like high Aquarius energy of like, I'm gonna be myself. I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. Like the road less traveled. I'm gonna base my daily life off of that and find something that truly makes me happy. Um, so yeah, like this one also goes back to like negative like messaging. Um, so it's really all about self-love, right? It's all about self-love and just like really being mindful. So like using that Virgo moon to kind of like, because it's so observant, and Virgo ascendant makes you so observant, but like channeling that, if so that this is actually where your Mercury retrograde can help you, channeling it inside and then being able to see those negative messages as they come up and criticisms and whatnot, right? And replacing those is like, I am worthy of love, and different affirmations like that, right? um so yeah, and then once you do that, all relationships become really really good, and Venus and Saturn together becomes an energy of someone who can have long lasting relationships, like I said, very very karmic relationships, like regardless. And you won't hide your affections, and be afraid of vulnerability, and miss out on relationships that are very valuable. um so that's important. So then with the Venus in the Uranus, that one is so we talk about your love energy, right? Super super romantic, but on one hand, like there's like this feeling of feeling held back, and on the other hand, like I just mentioned, and like not feeling like deserving of things. Venus in Pisces can be very 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 over idealistic, right? So mm, give me a quick second. So yeah, it can be very, very over idealistic. And it's really important to have like, whether it's like a friend that's very, very grounded, um, someone who can really, really help you in the sense of if you have problems taking things slow, right? If you have problems taking things slow, someone who you can just be like, hey, like, you know, this happened, what's the deal? Um, like, what do you think about this, my balanced friend? Nothing about balance, I'm just saying, like, it's a tendency. Now, the other energy, um, with the other energy, it can make one, it's very different, it's very opposite. um it can make one, so there's potential for so many things. So over idealization, the rose colored glass and love, all that stuff, which can attract like the energy vampires. But then there's also the potential for Saturn, like, yeah, for having very very like lots of at this point in your life, not really anymore, but just barriers in front of you, when it comes to getting that love. um and then with Uranus, it creates like someone who might be like, so like they get bored easily, like they need like lots of stimulation. And there can also be like the roses, not the rose, um the grass is greener on the other side type energy, right? So important to look at that. um because yeah, I've seen a lot of people with this aspect, um Venus square Uranus, where because the Venus is in Pisces, so it's very very romantic, they get in relationship, and then you know before they know it, Um, they, unless there's like a high amount of intellectual stimulation involved, they get bored, right? Simple as that. So, and then, having Juno in Aries in eighth house, it's like there is that desire, for that real life-changing kind of intense type of relationship, soul bonding relationship, but then also, um and Pisces definitely goes with that theme as well. But then there's also, so yeah, there's, and then Virgo moons, that also is like very much like my love language is like is related to like, what I'm willing, the small things, like Virgo moons need to be noticed for the small little things they do, right? Um like they go and get their partner like their favorite cupcake that like they somehow remembered from like a small conversation, something random like that. Um, but then also, your ideal partner is someone who, can go to these like, these like, and you of course lack water in your chart. Um, so, perhaps someone who's able, well, and you have Venus and Pisces, yeah, you have water, but yeah, just like generally like someone who is who's fun, who is has like kind of like a sense of youthfulness to them, and who's willing to go deep with you. There's, it really is a desire for a deep relationship. So well, um themes are very clear. So we saw down here that, yeah. So I mean, just like feel into that energy, like past life trauma is hard. We can't fucking remember it, and I just see my 1110, my lucky number. So that means what I'm about to say is important. But like it's there, and when you have that Uranus energy and the Saturn, squaring your nodes, those are skipped karmic steps, and um where's the here it is. You like, let's see what they say in my program. Your destiny is linked with the discovery of new, I didn't even know they had this, with new and exciting thoughts and concepts. You need to make sure that you do not seek excitement at all costs, but direct your energies wisely. You're being challenged to make a contribution to humanity. Okay, let's see what they say about Saturn. I didn't know they had these for the nodes. You need to spend a lot of time developing self-discipline, as your impulsiveness may be an impediment to reaching your goals. That's an interesting way of putting it. So what I would say, it's that, I take like my view. I just see it deeper. What was the Uranus one that they gave again? Yeah, like you're here. Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to that. Like, you're here to, to you're here to seek liberation from conditioning, right? Uranus is really like a lot of times a trauma marker, right? And so yeah, there's like unresolved material from conditioning and past life conditioning, past wounding, um, um, you know, perhaps you're someone who and with the Virgo South, that makes me believe that you were um it could be a lot of things, right? Like it could be that you had these ideas, but because of a fear, right? You didn't go towards them, and you just kind of live through the status quo, or you were just taught in a completely different way of the truth, right? But the nodal axis of the moon, right? So Mercury, uh, in retrograde, that's karmically also saying that there's a need for you to look back. People who have retrograde planets, like these types of planets, Mercury, Mars, Venus, it's like they either over or underdid different energies, right? Like if it's Mercury and with the rest of your chart, I think that you overthought, right? There's like an overthinking. Um, so if there's an overthinking and overanalyzing, in this life, because Virgo, that's kind of the shadow, right? It's like it thinks, yeah, I think it can overthink, and with the Saturn, there's definitely like some interjects there. So you're meant to kind of take it the opposite direction. Aside from that, um, yeah, it's just like a crisis in individualization, right? And that's why you're in Aquarius in this life. And in past lifetimes, you started to detach yourself from this like conditioning. Um, but you haven't been able to really like maintain that process, right? You kind of been like going up one and then down, and it's just like conditioning really imprisons you, right? So that's why you have Mercury retrograde, is because that makes the person analyze their thoughts more. Why do I think this way? Why do I, and all that Virgo moon, right? It's like it's really pushing you to kind of think things deeper and deeper, deeper, and then it gets easier. Um, and adds more meaning to your life because you're basing it off of greater truth. So yeah. Yeah. Also, besides that, a lot of people with this, um, like they've just been basically just like the core essence of you has been blocked, and this lifetime you're here to release it. That's essentially it. And the family that you have, like there could definitely be some bloodline karmic stuff that like karmic bloodline stuff that plays into this, where you're the one who's meant to break the this trend. Um, there can also be some type of like karmic PTSD. Um, and yeah. So what's really big for you is the Uranus opposition, which is around like what, like I said, yeah, like 41, 42-ish. That becomes a really important time. Um, and yeah, with Saturn, it's once again about conditioning, right? Like whether it's family, society, religion, anything like that. Um, that fucked you over and repressed you. And there's also, yeah, the need for maturation, for really taking responsibility for your own life, right? Um, but like when the North Node is in Pisces, it's like you've been too much in the worrying, you've been too much in the material world. So that's more of how I see it, is that you haven't developed that kind of like um like Aquarius, Pisces, that like that kind of those are the two last signs. That's your sun and your north node, right? Um, Also there can be lots of like blame, shame, like just like fear, like all these types of things, right? Um, that you kind of hold on to that might not be yours, right? Um, so the Saturn return is really, really important, obviously, for karmic reasons. Um, but yeah, a lot of people with this, they have like a lot of guilt. Um, like they feel like they come in this life feeling like they've done something wrong. And um, we look at where it is. Well, it is in Sag. So in the fourth house. So I think it has to do with lies that you've told yourself, you know, lying to yourself. Um, and you know, it's really, yeah, about like just kind of you recognizing past mistakes, and just kind of, making direct reparations for them, right? So yeah, it's kind of what I got for you on that front. Um, so aside from that, you know, Jupiter in the eighth in Aries, that's like a very, very go-getter leader energy. And it's also really, really good for the esoteric and the occult. Eighth house Jupiter is very good for inheritance or marrying rich. Um, it's good for living a long life as well. It gives one usually a lot of luck when it comes to other people's resources, even things like contracts, all that stuff, right? That can be like fucking hell for a lot of other people. Um, that's good. Um, no, aside from that, um, Jupiter and Aries, um, it just gives someone like this very just like they like just they're very go-gettery when it comes to like going and finding that truth and even being like a teacher, like that kind of stuff, right? So that's it becomes very important to the individual. Um, let me think for a second. And then yeah, I think with like Leo, like Black Moon with Leo, it's just like, just the need to watch out to not go over the top. Um, and to kind of like have like narcissistic like potentials. Not narcissism, big difference that most people don't fucking understand in today's world. Um, one's a personality disorder, one is something that we all have as humans. Like everyone has narcissistic traits, like or tendencies. Like it's literally like I don't know how you couldn't if you actually like think about it. And yeah, so that's important stuff. Um, let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Black Widows and Leo. Yeah, they just have to watch their ego sometimes, but just the potential. Um, Yeah, I guess like okay, so how about your Mars and Sag love like it gives you this great desire, um, to expand yourself, right? To really truly go deep and to expand yourself, um, and it's 11 degrees from Saturn, so that's not close enough for me to consider it a conjunction. Um, and you seek in the fourth house, Mars there. There's a drive to create a family. There's a drive to have your home be this like very this place of wisdom, right? Um, there's a drive to kind of get to know your internal self, and to find like deep meaning from within yourself. And then also just Mars and Sag people, they have a drive to do Sag stuff, which is what? Learning, traveling physically or traveling metaphorically, right? Um, different cultures or just different philosophical backgrounds. They just like it gives you like this very like it's a nice combination with the other stuff you have going on. And it sextiles your sun. So they work really well together. Sag and Aquarius are two energies that work really well together. And I think it also contributes this kind of like well, it's a similarity that me and you have because your Mars is on my moon. Um, and then also your sun is my north node slash Venus. That's interesting. But you know, basically like as I was saying before, you're here to learn to yeah, to really really look at yourself and look at your beliefs and reshape them completely. Like that is I'll say it 1,000 times. Like it all comes from just like that continuous expansion, just always learning, always trying to learn something new. And when you're doing that, it's a great great thing. um so then Neptune in the fifth with Pallas there. So Neptune in the fifth, it's not a surprise that so many of my ultra creative, you and empathetic and artistic and all these great words, clients have this. Why is it like that, right? Well, it's because that gives one the ability to create from their intuition, right? Um, and they have this amazing ability to, yeah, to just kind of create from a place where it's like, whoa, where did that come from? Um, 1 second, Esme, come here. So I think you might have some food there. So also like in terms of children, it can kind of create like a confusing energy around. So you have to watch out for like hookups, um, because Neptune the fifth can like create kind of like I don't know, just like weird energy around that, like confusion, like just watch out for like unwanted pregnancies, stuff like that. I'm not trying to scare you. Um, but overall, I'm not gonna like sit here and say that this is like the worst placement, like a horrible placement. I think it's a great placement. I think it puts you in touch with you know, it puts you in touch with energy that um, you know, where as long as you're not shaming yourself for your creative talents, you're truly able to yeah, to just create from your intuition. And also there's like this ability too for you to make um make your work, right? I see this with like Virgo and Leo risings, like make your work, what you do for fun, um, turn that into, how you make your money, right? Um, which is, I mean, does it get better than that? You tell me, because I don't know if it does. Um, so, and having that midheaven in Gemini, right? As I said before, that is very promising in that respect. Um, it gives, oh, let's see a second, sorry, reach for this. Yeah, so like it's like people who have that, especially with Aldebaran. Yeah, man, that is like it doesn't get much more fortunate than that, to be honest. Um, to have that royal star Aldebaran in your midheaven. But yeah, like your career, your what your career, your dharma, whatever you want to call it, like whatever you're doing for like the big picture of your life, like there's this potential for like I don't want to call it stardom. It sounds kind of cheesy, right? But um for just greatness, right? For just greatness and just really lots of like kind of when you're headed in that right direction that's aligned with what you're really truly meant to do, you just tend to meet the right people at the right time. Now, with that eighth house Jupiter too, um, you could really like meet very, very powerful and influential people who really help you, right? Um, so that to me, when I see that, I think, okay, well, you know, it's probably more likely that, your karma isn't so related to money, um, as it is with, you know, as your Pisces North Node says, with um, deepening yourself in that more spiritual way, right? Where you're not like where you're not in that kind of excessive the potential that Virgo kind of like potential as I was saying before for excessive worrying um and just putting too much in the physical realm, right? And your North Node ruler is in the fifth house, so Neptune on the fifth, right, ruling Pisces. So that can speak to the potential for you to really, really be someone um, yeah, like they're able, where art and creativity can just play a massive role in your life. Like you might even be someone who can be famous for art because of the power of Aldebaran. And if it's not that, um, just something related to just when you really really dive into your your intuition and combine that with the anti-conditioning and getting past the self-limiting beliefs, all that stuff that we talked about, right? um there's just that massive potential, um massive 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 potential. So with that aside, let me think for a second. With that aside, yeah, I just think that the journey from Virgo to Pisces is like, it's very deep, and it's not for everyone. It's not. It's you have to kind of have reached like a certain soul, a level of like soul evolution to really truly get there, and to be up for that challenge. 'Cause it is very, very magical, and it's very much about service. Um, I can't emphasize enough how much of your chart speaks to service and um and like causes, right? Identifying, you know, the things in this world that you care about the most, and having those like really just contribute to your day by day routine, right? Um, but yeah, like Aquarius, it's so interesting. I don't think I can't think of a chart where like there was just this like big just Aquarius Virgo. Like those are such random energies, like to have. And like teaming up together, yeah, it really is that intuitive just genius that is Uranus, that and being able to kind of translate it into human words, if you want to call it that, right? Mercury, human words, human terms. But there's a certain level of self-belief that is for sure needed, right? Just to kind of like to kind of allow yourself to be there. Um, there's a certain level of self-belief that's needed. Hmm. Pisces, North Node. God. Mm, where was the so I wouldn't be surprised if you are someone let's say, of means. Um, Oftentimes the Aldebaran people, the Aldebarans, um, they come from families that aren't poor, but not always. I've had a few MC Aldebarans who didn't have that, but that's just to say that like if that is the case, that perhaps like I said this before, but like I'll say it again. Like some people have charts where I literally talk about money the entire reading. Not the entire reading, but like it's just like something that's so important, right? Because there's so many karmic lessons around money, right? Um, and people think of money like they don't really necessarily like associate with spirituality, but there's such a massive association. Um, God created everything, including money. So for people who have kind of passed, um, I guess those tests in a sense, um, and it's not even necessarily that they passed them, um, but they, at least in this lifetime, it's not meant to be like this big, big, big thing, right? Um, it's not the focus. And just with that and with that, I just don't see it. So I think like when we go back to like the Venus energy, right? Um, when we go back to the Venus energy, I think like the kind of idea of like the self-love mixed with the self-love mixed with uh kind of how that just relates to the external love, that being something massive. But yeah, there's always more than meets the eye. Um, there's always more than meets the eye. Um, what was I gonna say? But definitely like um, a 10th house Chiron, you know, it is someone whose career could be as a healer. Um, but yeah, oftentimes they have to kind of go through their own trials and tribulations around the public, like different I don't want to call it like public trauma, but just like difficulties in the public. Um, yeah, you can work really well in groups, and yeah, just like I don't know, like I see it all over your chart of just like having been lied to in past lives, and you probably feel it in your soul. You probably feel that in your soul, of the energy of like having been misled, um, and yeah, in this life you're like, I want to do things correct. I want to I want to follow a path that's linked to the truth. That's linked to me finding that truth, right? Um, so that's uh, what's behind all this. I've seen the amount of signatures I've seen that kind of denote that theme. It's so many. It's just ridiculous, right? Um, at some point, there's no chance of it being a, a coincidence when you've seen like the same, like a clue, like the same, like a very similar clue, um, said many, many, many times. Um, hmm, 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 hmm. See here. Well, yeah, I just can't stress enough about how much like this sixth house, this Uranus sixth house, like having vertex and part of fortune together, it's just like 20 Aquarius. That's like a very important point. Like if you ever meet someone who has that like big in their chart, like there's some deeper meaning there for sure. Um, and you're definitely able to kind of creatively strategize your life. Um, like create strategies around your life that can um sort of it's kind of like chess player energy, right? That can allow, it's like the person who's like I just lost connection. See how ugly that is? Like my my window, like I have like these automatic curtains, and one of them just like stopped working, which is awesome. Not. Um I literally had like scotch, like two sheets because I stay up late. Uh, it's early. It's light early. Um, but anyways, what was I gonna say? Yeah, just like a need to explore. Um, especially your own creativity. Your children can be really, really intuitive and really, really intelligent. Um, and yeah, you just have a mind that's just very, very interesting, and it copes well with plans, but then it's also outside the box and it can like kind of plan ahead, big picture type vibes, but then also like really like be very inventive and outside the box. Um, and yeah, like overall, you have just to get past the lower energy of Virgo, right? Into the higher, which is like still great, but having a sense of humor around the imperfections. When I see Virgos who have a sense of humor around like their perfectionism, right? Because every Virgo has perfectionism, let's be honest. Um, but when they can have a sense of humor around it, it's just like I know that they've done the work, Like I always give this example of a client who had like a ton of Virgo, and I was like, we were talking about meditation. I was like, so let me guess. Like, I'm not gonna give you the whole story, but got to the point where I was like, let me guess. You were on day 10 or 11 of your meditation, and then for some reason on day 11 or whatever day, something happened where either you couldn't do it or you didn't do it, and you know, then after that you just quit. And she literally was just like jaw dropped, and she's like, "That's yeah, like I mean, like literally like nearly exactly what happened." I was like, "Yeah, that's the Virgo energy, right? It's like when Virgo, like they just set such high, like the toxic part of it is like, they just set such like toxically high standards for themselves that they're never going to reach, and then when they inevitably, so it's a form of self-sabotage. So yeah, so Sirius in sixth house, I just once again, like just service to others, service to yourself, like the daily routine, how much it goes with your Virgo energy perfectly. And it's in Aquarius, so you feel very cared for and loved when your sense of individuality is accepted, um and encouraged even, and then you're able to do that to others as well. um let's see if there's anything. So yeah, like really, like at the end of the day, like the joy for you comes from that nonconformity, and from you know like the daily life routine, a service, um that really fits in with that nonconformity, right? And that individualism, and breaking, like it's really literally you breaking through those past life barriers. Okay. So let's see here. Yeah, like very, very committed person to like your family and the people that you love. But it's 11th house. It could be like your friends or your family, as I said before. And also there's like a need for you to define your real big picture beliefs and visions. Um, because those play a very important role. Um, Also just like moon rising, I didn't really say like how intuitive and sensitive it makes someone. Um, and you literally wear your emotions on your sleeves. Even as a Virgo, like, which can be more conservative, you still do, and people like it adds lots of authenticity to you, right? And usually moon rising, like the mother played like a major role in like a big role in your life, and like I see only beautiful aspects from the moon. So you know she probably helped you become more powerful, helped you become more resilient, but also helped you become more unique. So, and yeah, probably had a good effect on that. And yeah, the sun square Pluto could have spoken to something with the father, but yeah, at this point, like it's so random. Like sometimes usually the son's the dad, but it's not always the case. So, and yeah, your Mercury is really well aspected. I mean, you have like this like broad perspective, this ability to see the big picture, and also like this really good, probably very good memory, most likely with Mercury and Saturn. And then also like yeah, like just like even more of like a really outside the box thinking. It's just that it's just you're probably really ahead of your age growing up. That's my guess. Um, ooh, so that is really nice. Mars trine Jupiter. That gives you like an endless source of energy. Especially Mars and Aries, right? And then or Mars and Sag and Jupiter and Aries trining together, and they're both in water houses. So that actually gives you like a drive to get into that North Node in Pisces, right? Into those emotions, into those kind of like the esoteric and those areas of life. So it's really cool. But yeah, you can really like direct that to like achievement in any different area. Um, okay, so let's take a look at this. My camera just go off. Okay. And do this, plug it in over here. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's that one. Okay. So yeah, I mean, having karma on your moon, just like it just means that like a lot of like the big emotional, um, karma is an asteroid that I mean, I don't work with that much, but I see it a lot. So, um, it just speaks to like the fate in your romantic life. Um, Nessus conjunct ascendant. The Nessus is about abuse. So, um, yeah, to have it on your ascendant, that could speak to some form of physical abuse. Um, it can also be just yeah, just cycles of abuse, right? So yeah, it can be physical, verbal, sexual. It's in Virgo, so that could be that could be through words, right? And just it could be related to like that Chiron and Gemini, right? Where it's like not thinking that you're way, yeah, that you're thinking something's wrong with your way of thinking or whatever. Okay. So Mars, let's see anything. The Antares and I see. Okay, over here. White moon Selena on your descendants. So that would give you lots of like spiritual protection when it comes to love. Lust on the descendants. That gives 1 second. That gives like lust is like the sexiest fucking asteroid. Like my girlfriend has it rising, and I've noticed it with other, yeah. And I have, by the way, I have no idea what you look like. I literally like have it to where it just says your initials, and I have no association. I have zero idea what you look like zero. Like your name isn't even in my head. That's how fucking like objective I keep these. But yeah, lust on descendant. Descendant is it's obviously the other, but it's still an angle. So you could, yeah, like have lots of like spiritual protection with the white Selena around your relationships, and then also have like just a very seductive sexual energy. Although wait, hold up. Yeah, wait. What's this one then? Oh, wait, that's weird. So that still could be true, but it was actually angel on your descendant. Um, so that's really, really good for who you would attract, and lots of luck and protection in that with Selena, where it is what's this one? What isn't telling me? Okay. Okay. So Mark had Venus, um, Antares, and Aldebaran. Mark had Venus, Antares, and Aldebaran. So, first of all, yeah, obviously with Aldebaran, um, you know, as I said, super lucky. And then, they're opposite points essentially, Antares and Aldebaran. So if you have one on one angle, then you have the other on the other. So Aldebaran, on the midheaven, and did my camera go away again? It did. Wait, what the heck? Why is it doing this? I see. So, yeah, Aldebaran on the midheaven, is giving lots of good fortune, like I said, honor, very good for marriage, success in business, you know, good leadership skills, fame, potential fame, someone who's busy with lots of things, lots of stuff going on, and yeah, lots of times prosperity from youth. And aside from that, It is, it's just very classy and just so many high-powered celebrities have this midheaven. Lots of just great success. And it's very important when you have real stars to act with integrity, like with kind of like altruism behind what you're doing. Because what can happen with Aldebaran or Regulus, what I have, is that there can be like these sudden storms and misfortunes, like if you use your gifts like in a negative way, right? So that's very important. But yeah, lots of charm, um, kind of refinement, um, very worldly energy. Um, and then having Antares, which is like also a real star on the IC. Antares is kind of like the king of the underworld. I think like Pablo Escobar, he had a big Antares. Um, hmm. So when it's on the Nadir, the IC, it also gives a very kind of illustrious life. Lots of glory, very good for for potential fame, um, lots of resources, and a lot of times it gives lots of prosperity in old age, um, or just through savings and investments and stuff like that. So yeah. So then Markab, the last one I'll talk about, having that on your Venus. Um, Let me see. So having Markab on Venus is, you have to watch out to not like um go towards like alcohol and other excesses like that, and you have to be very very careful of who you associate yourself with. Now you do have lots of protection over this Venus. That's gonna push a lot of that away. But I still need to say that. So yeah. Overall, super interesting. Look forward to speaking with you. So just to kind of lay it down for you, what nearly every single person does, or 95% of people, is that they get this reading and then they wait, hold on. Okay, never mind. So they get this reading and then you have the follow up already. Um, you can add the current astrology slash spiritual alignment reading. So basically, that is very different because you have this video forever. It never changes. It's your natal astrology. It never changes, right? But current astrology is always changing for everyone, right? Like right now, I have Neptune squaring, or I've had Neptune squaring my moon for the past 2+ years. If I didn't know about this, I'd feel like I was going crazy. And there's so many different potentials. So it becomes like a 3-hour affair. First hour is follow up. It's all about this. We're comparing your lived experience with everything I said here today. Remember, astrology is free will plus your chart. So like that's why I don't make predictions. They're all potential, right? So we're putting the puzzle together, the puzzle pieces together. um, and then the current astrology is all about it's like a seamless move into that, right? And then we're talking about the different transits. So a lot of astrologers, they'll have like a different reading for solar return, for progressions, for transits. They'll have it all in different readings. Like me, I just do it all together. Like everything that I know about current astrology, I just do it all together. So yeah, pretty much it. Let me know if you want to do that. I'll give you a very nice reduced price, to where it would cost you 260 instead of 380. Um, so just remind me that I gave you that price because I don't give everyone that price. And if you don't want to do it, no pressure. you already have the follow-up, but it's just the best way to get like the full experience because you're getting both. Current, natal astrology and current. Anyways, thank you so much for being patient. I hope you enjoyed your reading. So much into this. And we still, we'll have a lot to talk about. So yeah, I shall talk to you later, and let me end the video. All right, ciao.